process something.
Okay. What are your numbers though?
I'm working on
You
getting the
work here.
chat pulled up so I can enter it.
Like you can verbally tell me your numbers.
I mean, okay, fine. My focus, I give myself about a 3.5.
Okay.
Openness, I'm at a 5. Peace, I'll give myself about 3.5 too. Scholar basics, I'm doing pretty good. I'll give myself a 3 out of 5 because my water needs some help. Um, I have a water bottle here though that's going to get consumed, which will address that. And then I haven't written since last Thursday, which has something to do with what I want to verbally process. So.
Okay. Yes, that's been my week, verbally processing defenses and the aftermath of a defense and all the emotions that come up after that. And it's helping me because I'm like, oh, there's some tools I think I want to create just to help navigate this process. Let me stop using the word process. After the dissertation, especially after the defense, you intellectually understand that you're going to have a rush of emotions. It is not until you start to go through it that you can fully appreciate what I'm saying to you and the warnings I give you. But I'm not doing this because I'm trying to fear monger. I'm saying it's something about you have been working towards defending for years, right? From the moment you enter into the program, that has been like your goalpost of like, I just got to get there. When I hear those magic words of congratulations, doctor, then I can have the relief in knowing that I did what I said I was going to do. I did this impossible goal. But we often think about relief as a positive thing or like we associate with a positive feeling. And I'm not saying it's not positive. I am saying that in the relief, it's the pain comes up too because you most likely have pushed a lot down to especially towards the end to make it that last stretch towards defense, and you may not realize just how much you pushed down, just how much you were grinning and bearing it to get there. And after those words and the relief hits, there's a moment, right? There's a day or two, maybe even a week of like, yeah, I did it. You all like you celebrating, and then it hits you. Maybe it hits you in the middle of the night. Maybe it hits you in the middle of a conversation like grief does, because that's what I'm naming is grief. But when the grief sets in, all of the emotions, and if you're not prepared for it, at least have a warning for it, you can feel like, I don't know, like some guilt of why am I not happy? Everybody's congratulating me and saying, "Go, doctor." And you're like, I just want to crawl in my bed and disappear for months. Please leave me alone. But now you got to go do all the pomp and circumstances of preparing for graduation and maybe pictures and like family, navigating family logistics and where are we going to go to celebrate when all you want to do is go to your house or your room and throw away the phone. And then on top of that, you still got edits. You still got to do the format check for the graduate school. You still got to figure out, I'm going to put this on ProQuest or I'm going to hide it from the people because I can't think of a word right now. There's so many still decisions that need to be made. And I also didn't say there's also the processing of the feedback that you receive or the experience you have during a defense. Because you are so worry about, am I going to pass? It probably doesn't hit you until later that you might be questioning, did my committee even like it? Do they even think I did a good job or did they just like pass me just to pass me? All of that happens. And so processing, I did all of that to say having someone to process with is very helpful and to know that this is not once you're done and you're at graduation, you never have to deal with these feelings. No, you still got a whole solid at minimum 3 months of emotionally processing, if not up to 2 years of deep emotional processing. So that's for everybody who is listening. Um, Folks' numbers are looking good. I would say, besides me being hungry because I just didn't properly plan my time today, um, I'm doing good. I would say I'm fives across the board. I got to, as I was processing with somebody else, I got to rant a lot today. So I feel good. I feel like an emotional release. Today though, I do want to talk about how do you keep going without burning out? Like, how do you stay ahead? For those of you who are still working, it's summer, right? It's May. For most people, the spring semester is over. The let me go to my next slide. Spring semester is over. We're going into summer. This is also the time of year when a lot of people are like, you know what, I didn't quite do what I wanted to do this academic year, but I'm gonna catch up over the summer. And I'm always like, but what's your plan? Because we know summer is over in a blink of an eye. Okay, one day it's May 8th, the next day is August 8th, and you're starting a new semester, a new year. And so we're going to talk about some things related to that, of how you can be more intentional this summer and still be outside and still do all the things. But first, let me know in the chat whether you are on the Finish Your Dissertation call, whether you are on Instagram or you are on YouTube. I don't even care if you're watching a recording. I still want to know. Number one, when will you graduate? What is the month in the year that you will graduate? Not when you hope to graduate. Not, it would be nice. It would be nice. And for those people who are closer to their day, I just want you to think about you a year ago, a year and a half ago, when you probably like Danielle, I'm thinking of you like when I first asked you this question, how far away it felt. And now you're saying 8 days from now. Think about that. Okay. Which of your current habits are getting in the way of you making the progress you want to make? When you think about, because y'all like to say, I'm not consistent or disciplined, what does that mean? What does that look like? So when I'm asking you about habits, I'm asking you, what is something that comes up every single time that you want to go right, or you want to get further along in your writing process or dissertation process? What are those obstacles? What's happening? And then this last one is, if I did more of blank, I would make more progress. So if you did more of what do you think? And please don't be like, if I sit my ass down and write, listen, is that, what does that look like? How, if you had to quantify that, is it writing every day? Is it once a week? Is it once a month? What does that look like? Okay, so your current habit is avoiding your dissertation and taking on more than you need. Going to happy hour. Is happy hour really getting in the way? I have an argument that it's probably helping you, you know? Current habit, letting everyday stuff and crisis take up too much time. Yeah, especially these days. I feel like everybody is in crisis. And when you think about from a broader mental health perspective, this is the dangerous season. This is the time that people are most likely to complete self-harm, just because it's one thing for it to be cold and you're in the house and then you get in a routine, but then as it warms up and people want you to go places, but you're still not in the headspace to do that, things could get dicey. Or like you're holding on and it's not, maybe you live more in the northern part of the world and it's like cold and it's still cold and you're still waiting for the sunshine to come. Because I know there were many of days in Chicago that I was like, I know it's May for everybody else, but it just snowed yesterday. So I don't really know what's going on. Okay, if I did more writing earlier in the day, I would make more progress. Even if you're not necessarily at the dissertation phase, maybe you have a goal that you're working on. What does this look like for you? For me, I was talking, and Ebony, it's okay if you still in class, tell me what's stopping you from your schoolwork. For me, I was telling my coach that me being high was getting in the way. Like me being high all day was no longer helpful. And I wanted to just like get rid of it. And she was like, so what do you tell people who need motivation to break habits? I was like, I had to sit in my decisions. What that looks like is, while I was quote unquote getting high, I had to sit there and be like, how you feel? You like this? You like this? You like that you've been doing this all day? You like every Sunday when your iPhone gives you that notification of how the average time you've been on there? Do you like that it's the double digits? How you feel about it? Not from a place of shame, not from a place of like, I'm going to punish myself, from a genuine place of curiosity. Y'all are all researchers in the same way that you would ask a participant a question and you are genuinely interested in the answer. I want you to have that same energy with yourself. Why do you do that? So, why do you like on a happy hour? Why do you like handling everybody else's crisis that take up too much time? Like, why do you like those things? We don't do things that we don't like. We don't do things that we're not getting some sort of benefit from. So when you come from a place of curiosity and you genuinely are when you are genuinely asking yourself a question, then you allow for the answer to come up and you may be really surprised with what comes up. You may be really surprised. I'm telling y'all my business because I want you to know that I'm a human. And just because I'm sitting up here talking doesn't mean I got it all together. I don't. No one does. I'm saying this is an active thing. I'm asking you to apply it to your dissertation, but you can apply it to any area of your life. Okay. I hope that you are writing down your answers at least for yourself so that you know. But I really want you to think about what would you say is quote unquote getting in your way? And maybe it's a person. Maybe some of y'all gotta like admit that it's people. That every time you talk to so and so, your energy is drained and you don't have nothing left for writing. Or maybe every time you go to a particular writing group, you can't write and you can't quite say why, but your energy is just off. Maybe that's it. Okay, but let's get deeper into it. Unless anybody has anything they want to say in response to what I just shared. Well, I find my screen. I lost my slides. Okay. There we go. All right, burnout. If you feel like you're burnt out, it's not a physical problem. Burnout is not about I don't have the right schedule or I'm not managing my time right. That's not what burnout is. Burnout is an emotional problem, which is why no matter how many writing plans, no matter how many writing groups you join, you still feel burnt out. No matter how much clarity you get, you still feel burnt out because it's an emotional problem. Right. The title of this is Staying Ahead Without Burning Out. When I'm talking about staying ahead, I mean, what does it look like to show up on a consistent basis? That could be every day, that could be once a week, that could be once a month, whatever your frequency is, but showing up regularly, taking actions that get you closer to defending and graduating. No matter what is happening in your life, are you able to do those things? Burnout happens when you can no longer think of a reason that's good enough to keep doing it. So let me bring this down some more. How I would know that I'm getting close to burnout or I'm burnt out is I can't I'll start saying like my life is just so chaotic right now. There's just so much going on, or there's so much weighing on me emotionally. Like, how am I supposed to focus? There's just so much to do. I'm so behind. I don't even know where to start. Or if I do try to think of like one thing to do, I'm like, it don't even make a difference because I didn't let it get so far that there's nothing I can do. Right. Those are some examples of it. But those are emotional things. They sound logical, but it's an emotional thing. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you're following me? Because I just want to make sure everybody, we on the same page. We here. Let me know. Put a 1 in the chat if this is you following me so far. Not because I don't think y'all can't understand. I asked that because sometimes I'm used to talking to myself out loud because I talk to myself often. And I'm like, I think I know what I mean because I can see in my brain, but I don't know if I'm saying things in an order that somebody else would be like, yeah, girl, I got you. I followed your train of thought. Thank y'all. Okay, so y'all know my love of James Clear and Atomic Habits. And I did do this 3 months ago, but I like talking about this every so often. And I attempt to read this book every year, if not multiple times a year, because that's how good it is. Now, it's not for everybody, okay? If your brain does not like dense, logical things, this ain't the book for you. But this is why I talk about it so much, in case you can't read this textbook, but you do want to know some of the principles because you hear how everybody loves it. Because I don't think I really met a person who didn't love it, or at least like would recommend it. So James says you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Meaning you may have the goal to graduate in August or December or next May or in 8 days, right? You may think to yourself, you know me, I'm always like, you could push that. What if instead of December, what if you graduate in August, right? I'm not doing that because I'm saying the bigger the goal, the more that you'll push yourself. It's a challenge for sure. But we often think if I make the goal sexy enough, if I make the goal like, or even if I make the goal realistic enough, then that guarantees in itself that I'm going to get there. Right. So you might be like, I'm being logical and realistic, and I believe that I could graduate in December instead of trying to push it and do August. Because we think like, okay, if I have a firm goal, if I have a firm deadline, then I'll show up and do what I need to do because I got a clear goal. Right. Another way of saying that, if you like, if your chair gives you very clear due dates for when they need to see each chapter, your brain might be like, yeah, now I can do what I need to do. People will often come to me and be like, just give me a plan and then I'll be good to go. That's how you think if I have the right goal, I'll rise to it. But what James says is actually the goal isn't as important as your system. Because when shit hits the fan, when life starts lifing, you're not going to remember your goal. You're going to fall on your habits, which is another word for systems. Right. So going back to make sure we're all clear, a goal is the result you want to achieve. I want to graduate May 2025. I want to lose 25 pounds. I want to read 50 books by December. Whatever the result is the goal. The systems are about the processes or the strategies or the habits that you use to get to the result. So we follow the Scholar Planning routine, right? It's a step-by-step process. No matter where you are and how you feel, you just got to follow the steps. If you follow the steps, right, you'll have a plan. That's just an example of a system. You are what you do. I want everybody to know who can hear the sound of my voice. You are already a consistent person. You are already a disciplined person. You just may not like what you are consistent and disciplined in. Let me say it again for the people multitasking in the back. You are already a consistent, disciplined person. So when you say, I just need to be more consistent, I just need to be more disciplined, you already are that. Because when the reason why I'm making that distinction is because if you think that your focus should be on being consistent and disciplined, it doesn't, just because you wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and you force yourself to go to your office and sit at your desk doesn't mean it's going to produce a finished literature review. It's more important to see, what am I already consistent and disciplined in? Do I like that? Is that going to help me get to my goal? And how do I tweak that so that it will help me? It will get me closer. Right. So let me continue to make my case. You already have habits and routines and systems you do every single day that you are consistent in. Right. You might wake up every morning and grab your phone off the nightstand, or, maybe you like me and it's underneath your pillow. Okay. No judgment. I finally got to the place where I could stop sleeping with my laptop in my bed. Not because I'm doing work in my bed, but y'all, I be watching YouTube. And I had to stop. Okay, that was random. Now, there was a time where I was doing work in the bed, but I digress. It was a habit, right? You might be somebody who, You know, every time you go by that one coffee shop, you have to go get a chocolate croissant. Even if you're hungry or not, it's just what you do. Maybe every time you go to write, you always got to get that one flavor of energy drink. Now, that was me, okay? And if you wanted to know, it was a Ghost energy drink, green apple flavor. And I miss energy drinks. Can you hear it? I miss them so much, y'all. Like, I wish I could still drink them. Maybe you're someone every night when the day is done, you had the like last Zoom call, so you're gonna get off tonight's call and you're gonna go to your favorite spot on the couch and you're gonna turn on a different world in the background. You're gonna open up the TikTok and you're gonna be there for 5 hours just scrolling. Maybe that's what you do every night to decompress. My point is, if you look back over the past 7 days, 3 months, more than likely, you probably do these things every day. I'm just proving to you that you're already consistent. You know how to be consistent. You know how to be disciplined in that. Now, some of these things that you are consistent in may have been very helpful for you at one point, but if they are not helping you get to your goal, that's what we need to talk about. Let me just pause. Any thoughts? Because y'all are real quiet, so I'm getting nervous. Now, you might be tired and I understand. You might be like, girl, this is a lie. Okay, I'm just over here trying to survive May and you over here making me think. And if that's the case, that's fine. I'm just checking in. Come on, Virginia.
Hello, hi everyone. I feel like, yes, I definitely resonated with the idea of just like we are disciplined, and maybe we're just not disciplined in the things that we wanted to do. I remember a long time ago, you said you made a comment about TikTok, like you are making the choice to scroll on your phone or for extended periods of time, and you are making the choice to do that, and maybe there are other things that maybe would be better for your time. But that really resonated with me. So I was like, yeah, I can choose to not be on my phone when I need to be working. So yeah, I totally resonate, and I feel like that really helped me focus. Like when we say 2 hours a week, we are talking about dedicating 2 hours to our one thing and not to something else like scrolling, but we're still making a choice if we do.
Absolutely. And I will even go on the other side of that. Thank you. You can choose to be on your phone instead of write. Hear me, sit with that. You can intentionally choose that instead of writing, I'm going to scroll on my phone all night. Did you know that you can choose that and the guilt is optional? You don't have to feel guilty about making that choice. Now, some people were ready to fight me. Okay. What I'm saying is sometimes it's better for you to scroll than it is for you to sit there in front of your laptop for another 3 hours. I'm inviting you, and to Virginia's point, I'm inviting you to be intentional in your decisions. Because when you get practice in saying, it's not a problem that I'm scrolling on my phone at night. It's not a problem that I'm on my 3rd hour YouTube video. When you stop making it a problem, you remove shame from the conversation. And when shame can't have a voice, it loses its dopamine effect. Okay, so I'm going to go here. Most of the time when we're talking about this conversation around dopamine, we're usually talking about it in this sense of is a positive thing or you only get it from positive experiences. But did you know that you can get dopamine too from stress, from being taking care of everybody else's crisis is a dopamine hit. Scrolling on the phone while you talk shit to yourself in your head about you lazy, you don't never do what you say you're gonna do. You said you was gonna write yesterday, you didn't write. That's a dopamine hit. You might not categorize it that way, but that is why your brain keeps doing it every night. When I say you're getting something from it, that's what I mean. Okay, Danielle, what you got for us?
I just want to underscore here what you're saying, because this freed me so much throughout this process, because I'm an emotional creature. We all are, but some of us are more emotional than others. My emotional brain likes to kick in a lot. And I would get frustrated because I would be emotional and not be able to write. And then I would get even more emotional about the fact that I wasn't writing. And then it would just turn into this spiral where I did nothing. And then I would miss deadlines and everything else. And what you helped me learn throughout this whole process was that the emotion is going to be there, whether you deal with it or not. And the longer that you don't deal with it, the more inconvenient it is going to appear in your life. And what I've learned through this process is that instead of telling myself and shaming myself because I had emotions, it was, okay, you're emotional right now. So what's going on? Check in with what's happening. Because when I was able to hold myself as opposed to internally yell at myself and hear the messaging that I heard growing up, I dealt with it for a shorter period of time than previously. And it was because I tuned into myself more. And that allowed me to then get back to the work at a later time where my logic brain could kick in and I could write. But it's so powerful to hear the messaging once again, because a lot of times we think if we just suppress our emotions that we can get into the task of whatever we're trying to do. But more often than not, you still won't be productive and you'll have wasted more time because you still haven't dealt with it. And I think that switch in my head of flipping into what I understood productivity to be also freed me. And I don't know if you're going there later, so if you are, stop me. But like, for me, productivity I had to flip that switch from how many pages I wrote to did I do the thing that I said I was going to do? Because I could also live a life where I didn't hang out with my friends and I was miserable and still wasn't getting any writing done. And at that point, it's like the sacrifice wasn't really a sacrifice because at what cost, right? We weren't getting the thing we said we were going to get done anyway. Now we're just miserable and still not getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And when I learned that, okay, take 4 hours to cry, and then take today, don't work on it, or take a month and don't do it. Right? When you put me on timeout before, but I took that time and I came back and I was able to do it faster because I wasn't constantly fighting myself, because that is essentially what I was doing when I wasn't letting myself feel my emotion.
I know people are hearing this right now, and I know whenever somebody hears me talk about this for the first time, so thank you, Danielle, for bringing this up. But usually when people hear me say, take a break or choose to scroll on purpose or feel your feelings first before you try to write, that sounds absolutely ridiculous. It sounds like, girl, don't you know that I have to get to this deadline? I don't got time to be over here feeling my emotions. And I'm going to tell you, you don't have time not to. Because your way, and this is not to Danielle, but I'm in a rant mood right now. So here we are. Your way is not working. You ignoring your emotions is not working. You keep sitting at your laptop every single night, right? Saying, I need to catch up. You over here doing all 50-11 math equations about how many hours and minutes and days and months you got left before you got to turn this in, and you don't think you're going to make it. Because if it's taking me 5 hours and 21 minutes to write this first part of the literature review, and if I continue to use that math equation, and that means it's going to take me, 3 years, and I don't got 3 years to write a literature review. I got to do the whole dissertation. When you keep doing that every night, I'm being ridiculous, because that's how you sound in your head when you're sitting there in front of your laptop. And you think that it's better. I get the logic of, I just need to sit here and, I just need to force myself. It don't matter if I don't feel like it. It don't matter if I'm sad. It don't matter if I'm overwhelmed. I just got to sit here, but it's not working. If you can take a more objective view, you will see that you're wasting your precious time and you are doing more harm to yourself in your progress by forcing yourself to sit there. What I'm asking you to do is accept reality that you don't have the capacity to write. So what logical sense does it make for you to force yourself to be at a laptop? You are grown. You are no longer going to get in trouble if you don't sit there. You are no longer that 7-year-old kid who got to sit at the kitchen table and do their homework where they can get up. That's not you no more. You're not there. You're grown. So you can make some decisions. And part of that decision is saying, I choose to put my emotional health first. And I choose to give myself time off, because even if I sit here, I'm not going to do work anyway. So I might as well do something that I enjoy, that's going to fill up my cup, and that's going to help me show back up, whether it's tomorrow, 3 days from now, 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, and put more words on the page. So what Danielle is saying is, instead of trying to like push through and trying to force herself to like get over her emotions, because it wasn't working anyway, she decided, okay, I clearly just need to cry. And what you find when you allow for it, you're like, I cried for 4 hours. And then I had a meal, I went to sleep. And then the next day, I feel lighter. And you know what? I feel clearer because I released. Now I know exactly what I want to say. But if you never give yourself that space, you're just prolonging your timeline. Okay, I'm done with my rant. Thank you, Danielle.
And it hurts more. I mean, I'm speaking from first Danielle, second opinion here, but when I was telling myself that I should be done with this by now, that hurt more than when Dr. DeVentor told me that if I didn't understand theoretical paradigms, I wasn't going to be a good student. Because forget her, it was me telling me that I couldn't do this. And I shoulda, coulda, woulda been done by now.
And punishing ourselves doesn't work.
No, it only furthers the emotional work at least emotional work I had to deal with. It only pushed the thing further down the hole that I was trying to get out of.
Yeah.
So once I actually said, okay, what's going on? Let's feel it. Let's figure it out. And I wasn't gaslighting myself, then I could actually get out of the hole.
Yeah. Let's talk about it more though. Okay. Thank you, Danielle. Because I'm definitely going to get to that point. Every action. So think about what you do every day. Every action or every decision is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Right? I know you're like, so isn't that why I should sit in front of my computer? Do you want to be a person who ignores their emotions? It's up to you. You got to decide. Here is what happens. In the way that James Clear describes, this is how we develop a habit. He says there's some sort of stimulus, some sort of thing that's like, hey, it gets your attention, which then elicits a response from you. Right? This is emotional, and then this is the physical response, and then you satisfy that like craving here. Right? So let's say you smell cookies, you walk into somebody's house, you smell chocolate chip cookies, which then instantly your stomach starts to, what's it called, grumble or whatever, make noise. Your mouth starts to water. You start imagining how good the cookies are going to taste, right? That's a craving. It creates a desire for the cookies. And then your brain, and before you know it, your hand is reaching over to the plate and you can grab 5 cookies and they were good. And you got the reward because you satisfied the craving. And so what you have taught your brain is whenever you smell cookies, you should respond like this for them, and then you'll get them, and then you'll be satisfied. Right? Your brain is very simple. It's like, oh, so when we see this, that's when we do this. So even say you're not even hungry when you walked in the house. Say you wasn't even thinking about cookies. But this is how we get to a place like your brain doesn't, it's just like, oh, whenever we smell cookies, we should eat them. It's not attaching any like morality to that of like it's good to eat cookies or it's bad to eat cookies. Your brain is like, no, that's the math equation. If you smell cookies or see cookies, then You should eat them. And even if you're trying to stay away from cookies, your brain is like, no, this is our habit. So your brain might be like, I will not eat the cookies, but your body is like, no, but the cookies are right there. So I need to start making your stomach rumble, and I need to start like making your mouth water. And that's how you end up eating the cookies. I don't know how I'm in this cookie. I'm using this thing, but I hope you're following me. Let me do a different example. Like, you said that you want to wake up early and you want to write early in the morning. But your current habit is the moment you open up your eyes, you reach for your phone and you scroll for an hour before you can get out the bed. It doesn't matter how many times you write in your planner, I'm going to wake up at 5:00. It doesn't matter if you say, I'm going to join a writing group. You have the habit of, no matter if you wake up at 5:00, 6:00, 7:00, that the moment your eyes open, you reach for your phone, and now before you know it, it's 7:00 and you're still scrolling. Y'all following me when I'm saying this? Like, your brain does not distinguish. It's like, until you interrupt this habit, I'm going to keep forcing you to do this. This is why we can't logic our way out of habits. So this is why you can't keep telling yourself, like, I just need to get it together. I just need to write. Because if you're already in the habit of sitting down and reading articles before you write, that's what you're going to continue to do until you interrupt it. You can't just introduce a new habit because your brain is like, well, what am I supposed to do? Because I've been used to following this math equation. So I'm going to further illustrate this. Let me know a yes. Type yes for every time a cycle sounds like you. Okay. I'm going to talk about what you are most likely, like the habit loops you're most likely in. Okay. So you open up your laptop, you see a blank document, you remember everything you have to do, right? Because you said, I'm going to write this literature review. So you open up your laptop, you're like, let me open up a document. And you're like, oh, well, in order to do this literature review, I got to read these articles because I really don't know what I need to say. So let me go find these articles. But in the process of trying to find the articles, you're like, oh, I remember there was this other article that I needed to do. And then you go find the other article and you're like, oh, I should read this person's literature review. And before you know it, you're like, I'm overwhelmed because there's just so much to do in order to write a literature review. Right? The cue here is like you opening the laptop. The craving that your body, the habit that your body already has is like, I want to feel in control and I want to know exactly what to do. And because that's what the emotional response is, your habit says, oh, I just go read. Because that's, if I read, then I'll know what to do. And you satisfy this wanting to be in control and knowing exactly what to do by reading, even though reading isn't going to help you to write. This feels very logical. I'm trying to make sure, like, in the moment, it feels logical to read. Because if your brain is like, if I read, it'll tell me what to write. I'm trying to tell you that it's not quite as logical as you may think, but it's more of an emotional habit that you have. It's a story that you have told yourself so much, and it's been reinforced by school, don't get me wrong, but it's a story that you've told yourself so much that I can't write unless I read, that now it is such an ingrained habit that you are consistent and disciplined in that you can't show up and do it any other way. So when you hear me on the internet telling you just to write a shitty paragraph, you instantly reject that because your brain tells you the habit that you're in says, no, in order to write, I need to read. If you can relate to this, put a yes in the chat. If you can relate to what I'm saying, put a yes in the chat. If you want to argue with me, I take those too. I take arguments. Okay. Our next cycle is 10 p.m. and you're like, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. I didn't write enough. And you feel guilt. The craving or the emotional response is, I want to feel accomplished. I want to catch up. What you physically do, the habit that you're in is you stay up to 2 o'clock, forcing yourself to work. You stay like looking at your laptop screen and trying to, you keep rereading the same sentences. You keep looking at the same paragraph. Even though you're exhausted, even though it's taking up a lot of time and attention, you keep doing that because the reward you get for that is, well, at least I got some words on the page. At least I did something. But the next day and the following week, you're too tired to even show up to write, to even look at a document. And so you don't. So let me say this again. Say you joined a writing group, say you were here to write with us, for instance, and the call ends at 9, but a group of you stay on to 10 o'clock. And you told yourself at 10 o'clock, I'm going to go to bed, but 10 o'clock gets here and you're like, I didn't do enough. That's not enough. I know Dr. Lacey says I only need to write a shitty paragraph a day, but that's not enough. And you feel guilty because you've been thinking about all the time that you wasted before, all those times in the past that you said you was going to write, but you didn't show up to write, all those times you told your chair you're going to turn in a draft, but you didn't turn in a draft. All of that starts to go through your brain. And you say, I just really you have a desire that you just want to catch up and you want to prove to people that no, this time is different. This time I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. I want to feel accomplished. And your habit for how you approach that is staying up, is like ignoring your brain telling you you're sleepy, ignoring your eyelids getting heavy, ignoring like you can't even focus because you've been rereading the same sentence. Because the reason why you would do that, no matter that it's painful to ignore those things, the pain isn't as great as the reward of knowing, I know it's 2 o'clock, but I got some words on the page. I got words on the page. I did something. Again, you think it's logical. You think I'm being logical in the moment. I am telling you, this is an emotional habit that you have. It's a story that you told yourself that if you get, even though you said you were going to stop at 10 o'clock, and even though you said, I'm only going to write these 2 paragraphs, you actually write the 2 paragraphs and you get to 10 o'clock, but because you feel like it's not enough, you force yourself, you punish yourself to stay up until 2 o'clock so that you can feel like you did more. You can feel accomplished. I hope that the distinction is landing. You think it's logic, and I am telling you it's emotional. You want to feel accomplished. Because if we were operating in facts and logic said you were going to write until 10 o'clock and you're going to stop, and that all you needed to do was one shitty paragraph. And once you got to the one shitty paragraph, whether it was 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you would stop because you said, I only want to write this paragraph. But because you don't feel like one paragraph is enough, now we're up until 2 o'clock, even though logically you did exactly what you said you were going to do. That's how we know it's emotional and not logic. Put a yes if you can relate to this. If I'm on your street, in your garage, in your house. I will keep saying to y'all that your brain thinks it's being so objective, so smart. It's being emotional. We are all emotional beings, like Danielle said. Okay, here's another one. You open up Instagram. You see people talking about, I defended, I'm graduating, look at my pictures. Yay, me in my chair. Hashtag goals. And you, whether you say it, whether it's just like you slump a little bit, you're like, am I ever going to be there? Am I ever going to be like them? Why do I keep failing? I feel like a failure. I should be where they are. And so then you start opening up their account, going through all their pictures and their reels and their stories and their highlights. And you see how they were up every day at 5 o'clock and recording themselves. You see how they, maybe this is a person and you're like, oh, they're always meeting with their chair. Their chair is always sending them articles and checking in with them and writing with them. My chair don't do that. She don't even do that. My chair don't even want to look at my writing. My chair said I can't even talk to them no more. It's not fair that everybody got it so easy. Or maybe this is for some of y'all. I'm about to really be in your street. Yeah, it's easy when you don't have no kids. It's easy when you don't gotta wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning because somebody got the stomach flu from who knows where because they're always getting some sort of germ. That's good. Oh, you don't have a toddler just jumping on your head, even though she went to sleep at 3 o'clock, but yet she's back up at 5 o'clock as if she only had like she didn't have 2 hours of sleep. It must be so nice to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and not have to worry about any of those responsibilities. And because you desperately, right, the desire is you want to feel like accomplished, you want to feel like you want to prove to your chair that this time is different. I'm not failing. I want to keep up. You going down this rabbit hole of their account and their highlights is you avoiding the discomfort of writing, because you could just close the Instagram. You could decide not to go down the rabbit hole of looking at their stories and their highlights. You could just open it, or you don't even have to put your phone down. You could open up a document. You can access your document on your phone and you can write a shitty paragraph. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to help you make the progress you want to make is putting words on a page. But right now, you think it's logical for you to be down this rabbit hole on Instagram comparing what they have versus what you have, because your brain says it must be that they have something that I don't have. It must be that they know a thing that I don't know. Because you know that you're working hard, you know that you're showing up to writing sessions, you know that you think nothing, like all you do is think about your dissertation. So it can't be that you don't want it bad enough. It got to be something else outside of your control. And then when you go down a rabbit hole of looking at people's content, you're like, that's what it is. They don't have kids, or they don't work full time, or they have a supportive chair. That's why they can do it and I can't. You're trying to avoid the feeling of discomfort. And let me take it deeper. You're trying to avoid the accountability that really it's because you didn't show up to write, not because of their chair. Their chair ain't got nothing to do with you sitting down and writing. You don't want to accept the accountability that you are choosing to be on Instagram instead of choosing to write. Why? Because writing is uncomfortable. Writing forces you to be like, do you really know what you're talking about? And because you don't want to sit with those emotions of discomfort, you are scrolling and talking shit about this person. It's your emotions that you're running from. And remember, it's a yes if I'm hitting the mark. Let's say you did put some words on a page. Maybe you asked for feedback from your chair that gave you some feedback, and all you see is shitty drafts, like you did the shitty paragraphs. All you see is track changes. And you're like, I'm never going to make it. I'm a shit writer. Like, this is not good enough. I know Dr. Lacy told me to do these damn shitty paragraphs, but it ain't working. It ain't working. She don't even know what she talking about. Got me over here wasting my time writing shitty paragraphs. I can't turn this in. My chair not gonna like this. This is not good enough to be a doctor. What the desire is you want to feel confident that no matter what you write, no matter what citations you use, it's going to be good enough. Like, meaning your chair is going to approve it. And so because you don't trust that you could just submit shitty drafts, or the shitty drafts are good, or your writing gets to be in process, you spend hours and hours editing the same sentences, like the same one paragraph, instead of, right? Because the scholar writing routine is free write or record yourself talking for 10 minutes, right? So that you can get multiple pages. But if you don't quite trust me in that process, you might be like, I'll try her little shitty paragraph, but you'll spend weeks on one paragraph, and then you'll tell me it don't work, Dr. Lacy. Your little process don't work for me. I need something different that don't work for me. And I would say, but did you do the for real process, or you did your own process? But it's coming. I know that it's coming from you don't feel confident in your writing, so you definitely can't feel confident in me telling you to do shitty paragraphs. And you spending hours editing, The reason why you would do that is because it gives you the reward of like, now listen, the whole draft might not be done, but this one paragraph looks good. And you find yourself rereading that same paragraph. I used to do this. Is why I'm in your business. I used to read like, look at this paragraph. We're not gonna look at the rest of this. Just look at this paragraph. That sounds good, don't it? I sound like a real academic. But this is how you end up stuck in the same chapter for months. Because you're just so like nitpicky on this one section because you're avoiding the discomfort of just writing the rest of it. When I tell people, go ahead and just write your literature review from what you know. What makes that hard is I don't want to sit with the discomfort of what if I do all this work and it doesn't work. I'm going to tell on myself right now. Okay. Because I'm telling you from a real example this morning. I was telling my coach, I was like, I'm fighting with the scale. Okay. I'm having a fight with the scale. It's not a real fight, but let me think it's a real fight. Okay. I tell you I'm ridiculous in coaching and nobody believes me until you actually see me in actual coaching. I'm like, this is stupid. The scale is not moving. And she's like, okay, so what have you been telling yourself? I'm like, I'm just entertaining that the scale is stupid, but I said, I ask myself every morning, even if I got on the scale and it was down 50 pounds, what is going to change about my day-to-day life? Am I still going to do the things, the same habits? Or am I so desperate to just get to the goal just for the goal's sake? Let me put this in your example. What happens if your chair comes to you today? They write you an email and they say, Carolyn, you can defend your dissertation tomorrow. You ready? You can handle it? Like, not just a proposal. You can go ahead and finish. You can defend the entire dissertation tomorrow. Me and the committee going to be waiting for you. Are you ready? Are you ready to answer all the questions? Can you put a presentation together?
I kind of think I could. I
Yeah.
think I know stuff. I just can't write it down.
Yeah, but like, what if they said, like, we don't care what the draft is. We just want to see anything. We want you to show up tomorrow and have it and be prepared to talk about it.
I can talk about anything. So.
Yeah, but like, can you? They like a shitty draft. We don't even care if you got mistakes in it. Just turn it in.
That was terrifying. That's the part that terrifies me.
Why?
I'm like, I could do it, but like turning in garbage, I'm like, oh.
Why? If you could talk about anything, what's the difference between you verbally saying the thing that I'm asking you to just record yourself verbally saying it and transcribe it? What's the difference?
I feel like, I don't know, maybe like the verbal me is like a this is going to sound crazy, like a facade.
Mhm.
And like the written me tells the truth, like, oh, she's not that smart, or she's not as well put together as she, I don't know. It like tells, it's a different side. Like, I mean, I don't look like an idiot in writing, but like, it's not, well, I talk like that too. I'm not really organized. It's just not the way they want it to be. But.
Wait, let me back up though. Breathe so you can hear my question. If you're at the defense, right, they say you can be a doctor tomorrow. If you're at the defense, I'm asking you more like, I don't really believe in this word, but I'm going to use it more from an objective point of view. What is the literal difference? Not the literal. What is the difference between you verbalizing and the transcript?
I mean, in reality, nothing, but it feels different. I don't know.
No, go back to it. What again? It feels different.
I was like, yeah, in reality, it should be the same thing, more or less. I mean, but it just doesn't feel. I feel confident when I'm talking. I don't feel confident when I'm writing.
Okay, but I want to highlight that it's about how you feel, right? Because y'all like, I wasn't expecting us to go here because my example was different, but we're here now and I love this example, Carolyn, so thank you. Many of you, your chairs tell you, turn in anything. Now, there are some people who are like, I want a polished draft, but a lot of you, your chairs get so desperate, they're like, please just turn in anything, I promise you, just turn in anything. And you'll say, no. But if I ask you if you can defend, you say, yeah, I could talk my way through anything. And I'm fascinated by that because I'm wondering, If they would approve, if you 10 toes down and you believe they would approve your verbal defense, why don't you believe the same thing about your written work when it's the same thing? It's the same logic. It's the same argument, right? Because I'm literally telling you to transcribe what you would verbally say. The question then becomes, how do you get yourself to feel better? And I say, how do you get yourself to trust that the transcript could work just as well as you verbally saying it?
I think it's part of why I was resistant in the beginning of like even dictating stuff. I was like, once it got captured in writing, it didn't look the same. And I was like, it looks like a mess when it's written down. Maybe it's always a mess, but it didn't feel like a mess when I'm saying it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm getting more comfortable with that little by little, but I don't know. It's still a process getting there to like. I think I have everything, but it's just not it's not perfectly in the order that they want it to be in.
But so then my next question for something, and maybe you need to spend some time with this question. What is the order they want it to be in, and how does your draft differ from the order they want it to be in? Because if you can answer that, then you know exactly what to do to get to your defense. You could do that tomorrow. But what will stop you is that you don't feel like it's right. I'm distinguishing y'all because it's your emotions that's getting in your way. You think it's your chair or the feedback or the time. No, it's your emotions that are getting in the way. And when we stay in these emotional states for too long, that's when burnout is like, hey girl, hey, I'm here. How you doing? Right. So then we're not solving for how you get more hours to write. We're solving for, okay, what do I need to do to my writing to feel more confident about it, to feel better about it? What do I need to see like in the writing? What do I need my chair to verbally say to me? What do I need my chair to write in their feedback? What type of email do I need? What type of support do I need so that I can feel better about my writing? Another way that I would say that is, what does your writing, for everybody who's listening, what does your writing have to look like for you to be like, yep, I did it? Like, I'm asking you to make a checklist. How do you know when your writing is good enough to be turned in? What are the actual things you're looking for? Is it a certain number of paragraphs? Is it a certain number of citations? Is it a certain number, like multiple syllable type words? Like, what is it that we're naming? And you can't say, because what people will say to me is like, well, I'll know it when I see it. How? When what we're talking about right now is the reason why you're not writing is because you don't feel like it's good enough. But then if you do write it, we're waiting on a feeling. Like what's the feeling then? Tell me how we emotionally know. What's the rubric, the emotional rubric you need to know that like, yep, I feel good about it. It's time to turn it in. I'm asking you to research your brain and operationalize these things. Because right now your anxiety is looking at you sideways because it's like, what? How do we know it's good? And you're not answering the question. So it's like, I guess it's not good because you don't feel confident. Let me turn up the volume. Let me make you talk shit to yourself more. Let me make you avoid more. Let me make you do Instagram because I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing because we don't have a checklist to follow. So I'm just doing what I know. What is already a habit. We already every time you go to write, you open up Instagram. So I think that helps you to write. So I'm going to keep sending you messages that you should open up Instagram. I don't know. Every time, let me think of another thing that folks do. Every time that you're supposed to meet with your chair, you get sick the day before and now you got to reschedule, or some emergency happens and now you got to reschedule. And so since your brain is like, oh, that's what you do because it's a math equation. It's like, oh, we're going to meet with the chair on Tuesday. Your nervous system will create an emergency on Monday because it's just the pattern of what you're doing. You're following me when I'm saying that? Like, we don't think our nervous system or our brains are that sophisticated. It is. because that's your habit. But when we can come from a place of compassion, to be like, why do I do that? That's so funny. Why do I do that? It's so funny that I like stay on TikTok all night. Why do I do that? What's happening on this TikTok thing? Let me observe myself. Oh, it's fun. Like I'm telling myself, the little cat videos is hilarious. Cats are hilarious to me. That feels way better than forcing myself to write something. Oh, when I go to this writing group and we talk shit about the program all day instead of writing, that's way better than me trying to read this article that's boring, especially because I don't talk to nobody. And this is the only time I get social interaction. So I'm going to just talk shit with them. When you can come from a place of curiosity, you learn about yourself. The self-awareness will do wonders. When you can watch yourself from a place of curiosity, you're like, now why I keep going to get these chocolate croissants? What is it about these chocolate croissants that got me in a chokehold? You might find that that's the only time you have a moment to yourself when you're in your car stuffing your face with the chocolate croissant. Because when you leave that car, you know there's going to be a baby waiting for you to do something. Your boss going to be asking you to do this. You're going to have 11 emails, and you know that you're going to have to make decisions all day long. But when you're in your car eating your chocolate croissant, you don't have to do that. When you're scrolling, you don't have to do that. I'm just trying to get y'all to see that these are all emotional things, and you're not a bad person. You're not broken. You're just looking for some relief and some comfort, which are normal human things. See you Sunday. Okay, I'm gonna skip this. What are your thoughts in general? My question is, what are your thoughts about what we're discussing so far? What's something that's coming to mind? You can give me an emoji. You can give me a one word. You can give me more sentences. I just want to know, what are your reactions so far to what we're talking about? How are you responding? Even those of you on the Instagram, how are you responding? Listen, the cleaning part, because somebody said clean something. You don't ever have the motivation to clean or organize. Like when it's time to write, you like, oh, wait a minute. Let me go that closet, that garage. I could go do that now. Because what I don't want to do is read. I don't want to write. I don't want to sit with this. What is my chair going to think? And like, what's going to happen? Not surprised at all. I hope the But when you can notice that, how come every time I sit down, I want to go do laundry? You can be like, that's so funny, brain, that that's your habit. That's so funny. And we're going to talk about how to get yourself from this. But when you learn, for those of you who may need to leave, when you learn what you naturally do, I'm asking you to lean into it. Right? So if you know, girl, you're going to sit down and you're going to want to do the laundry. You make a plan for it. You're like, okay, so for the first 10 minutes, I'm going to sit down and my brain's going to do that thing where it's going to go to laundry. So then I'm going to go put a load in the washer, and then I'm going to sit back down and I'm going to turn on my writing playlist, and my brain is still not going to want to write. But instead, I'm going to open up a document and I'm just going to brain dump. I'm just going to journal. And anytime my brain keeps telling me to get up and clean a thing or do a laundry thing, I'm just going to write that down on my journaling. Because the goal here is to just get into action. It's not to make yourself a problem. It's just get into action, because eventually your brain will catch up, but we'll get there. If I'm cleaning something, then you know I'm avoiding something. Listen. Listen. So atomic habits, atomic meaning something very small, something tiny, something very like micro. A habit is a routine, a practice that you just perform regularly, an automatic response. Atomic habits then is just a regular practice or tiny action that is easy to do. But the more that you do it, the bigger your results. Right? Let me think of something that is not related to dissertation, because I'm trying to think of different examples. I know that when I go to retwist my hair, I got like 180 locks. Okay. I got a lot of hair. When I first start with the first one, I'm like, I'm never going to get through this. Right. But I just focus on twisting one tiny lock. I'm like, my only job right now is to twist one tiny lock. After a while, I got 20 of them done. But I'm still only focused on one lock at a time. This might not be the best example, but we're here. But about 3 hours later, just me focusing on one tiny lock while I'm getting lost in singing Beyonce or watching something on YouTube, I look up and before I know it, I'm done. But it's the intention of only focusing on one lock at a time is how I get there. I'm gonna think of a better example, but that was on top of my head. I want to underscore nothing is wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a broken doc student. You're not a lost cause. You're not so behind that you can't catch up. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need some new habits. That's it. When I ask you to do the bare minimum, when I ask you to be a bare minimum scholar, I'm not trying to be rude to you. I'm trying to help you work through your emotions so that you can get what you want. I know the smaller the step you focus on, the easier it is to do it every day. What happens, and I don't think I have a slide for this. What happens is when you are constantly worried about you being behind, you don't give yourself a small thing to do. You said, since I didn't write all of April, for May, I'm writing 100 pages or else. For May, I'm every night, every morning, I'm waking up and I'm writing. No matter what I feel, I'm going to sit at my desk for 4 hours. And that creates so much pressure that your brain is like, okay, we couldn't even do anything on April. So now you think I'm about to wake up every day at 5 o'clock and write for 4 hours? And so it freezes. It goes into a trauma response. It's like, oh no. But when you tell yourself, oh, you just got to write a shitty paragraph a day. You just got to write a shitty paragraph a day. That feels so ridiculous. It feels so easy that like, of course I can do it. You know what? I'm going off script. Okay. I'm just going to talk right now. The shitty paragraph, when I tell you to write the shitty paragraph every day, the reason why is because I know it's very easy to do. I know that writing 4 sentences that you just think of off the top of your brain is so easy that when you wake up the next morning and you are tired and you don't feel like it, when you verbally say, all you got to do is write a shitty paragraph, that's like, okay, I could do that. I don't even have to get out the bed to write the shitty paragraph. I just got to pull up my phone, pull up the document and write the paragraph. And I can go back to scrolling because it's so easy. But what we do, very high achieving, smart people, you hear me say, write a shitty paragraph and your brain instantly says, that's not enough. That's not enough. And I like to say, how you know? You know what's not enough? What you doing? You ain't wrote nothing in months. Yet you keep telling me my shitty paragraph ain't enough. How your math working? Because what I'm telling you to do, the challenge is for 2 weeks, 14 days, you show up and you write a shitty paragraph. That's my challenge to you. You sit with all the discomfort of, I don't think that's enough. It's not going to work. And you just show up and you write a shitty paragraph. By day 14, you have 14 paragraphs. You're probably going to have more, but let's just go with this example. You have 14 paragraphs. That is roughly 3 to 4 pages, depending on the size of your paragraphs. So in 2 weeks, you done wrote 4 pages, but doing it your way, when you say, oh, it's not enough, I need to do more than a shitty paragraph. I'm going to show her I could do more than that. At the end of 2 weeks, you got nothing. You may have a shitty paragraph. That's it. But at least with me, you have 4 pages that you can edit, that you can refine, that you can fill in citations. You have a starting point your way where you punish yourself and you put all this pressure on yourself. You don't have nothing to show for it. When we make things easy, when we make it micro, it's not a test of how great you are. It's you accepting that right now I'm in a very stressed out situation. Right now, while I want to be a doctor, I just want it to be over with, and I don't have the capacity to do a lot. So I'm just going to meet myself. I'm going to ask myself, can I just write a shitty paragraph and let that be enough? The can I just, you can apply this to anything. Can I just write a shitty paragraph? And then you show up and you write that shitty paragraph, and your brain is like, maybe I can do more. And maybe you do more. But because you know you already are operating on an empty tank, you said, but I'm only going to do one more paragraph and I'm going to go to bed, or I'm going to do something else. And then the next day you show up and you're like, time to write my shitty paragraph. And then there's going to be a voice that's like, you should go, go, go. You're like, no, I'm not going to push it because I don't have the energy, because I respect that I don't have energy. So I'm just going to let this paragraph be enough. Day 3. You know what happens on day 3 and day 4? Your brain goes, is that a page? Are we almost at a page? Huh. Now, there's still going to be a voice that says, but my chair is not going to accept it. You say, thank you, voice. My only job right now is to write a shitty paragraph. I will think about my chair later. There is a part in the process for that. But right now, my only job is to write a shitty paragraph. Say you get to day 5 and you're like, okay, I didn't had it. I can't make it to day 14. Well, at least you have 4 paragraphs to edit and refine and go to the literature and find citations. And as you do the editing and refining, those 4 paragraphs become 10. Either way, the whole point is to get you into action. Your way is not working. You punishing yourself is not working because your emotions won't let you do all of that. I know that you're used to thinking of yourself as this person who gets a lot done. You're the go-to person to help solve everybody else's problems, right? You're the one that they call when you're in a crisis, when they're in a crisis, rather, right? And you keep thinking about you as an undergrad student and as a master's student. Like, I used to be able, how could I take 6 classes and work 2 jobs and take care of these babies? And now I can't even write a literature review. Apples and oranges. Before, the reason why you were able to do so much is it wasn't much of an emotional barrier. You're most likely more confident at your job because it comes really easy to you, and you know that you know what you're doing. You know you can handle some dinosaur nuggets, okay, in the air fryer, right? Like, while you don't want the baby screaming through the house, you used to the baby screaming all the time. So you're like, okay, she just wants some dino nuggets. Let me go find her some nuggets. You're confident in your ability to make nuggets, right? When your best friend calls you for the 50-11 time talking about her boyfriend cheated on her, and you didn't told her 50-11 times, leave him, break up with him, sis. And she's still like, but I love him. You're not questioning your ability to tell her what you already can see so clearly that she needs to break up with him. So you keep telling her that, and that's easy to do. You don't have that same level of confidence when it comes to your research because it's something that you're doing for the first time. You have never written a dissertation before. You have never on your own designed a study from start to finish. So then it makes sense that you wouldn't feel confident in doing that. But if you are in my world, most likely you don't have many experiences or times in your life where things were hard for you. Because you were a good student. You're known as a smart one. You're known as they just love school. They stay in school. So school wasn't never hard for you. And now school is hard for you. And you are questioning your identity. Who am I? I thought I was smart. I thought I could figure this out. All of that is coming up when you go to sit and write the literature review. So you're logically trying to treat this as, well, it's just a literature review. I wrote many literature reviews before. What's the problem now? And what you're not taking into account, but you've never written a literature review for your dissertation. It's one thing for a literature review to be a class assignment. It's another thing for it to be your dissertation. And you don't have confidence when it comes to the dissertation yet. How you get confidence is that you give yourself evidence. The reason why you're confident at work is because you have years of experience that you can look back on and be like, I did that, I did this, I did that. I know how to do this. You have confidence that you could tell your friend about herself because she keep coming to you every week like clockwork. Girl, like, we keep doing this. She can't see it, but you can see it. You just don't have the confidence, the reps yet in the dissertation to have that same level. But if you keep going, if you keep doing things like shitty paragraphs, eventually you're going to look up and be like, oh, I did write a whole dissertation, huh? Fascinating. Okay. I want to hear reactions, thoughts. We're thinking, we're processing. That's fair.
Okay, I'm a big mouth. Let me see. I was thinking about, I didn't really like the free writes at first. Now I'm getting used to them, and it's
Mhm.
getting easier. Because last time I did one, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just pretend I'm talking to somebody about my paper, because I could do that. But now I'm thinking like, okay, that's coming a little easier. But how do I turn that into usable writing? Like, I know I'm doing a narrative type thing, so it
Yeah.
could be story like, but how do I morph it into something that
Yeah.
I'm missing the in between? I'm like, okay, now what do I do with it? I put stuff in AI, but I don't even know what to tell AI to do with it,
Yeah.
to edit it out. Like, okay, how do I turn my stories and thoughts into what it needs to be for them?
Yeah. I'm thinking about doing like a special workshop on editing and revising. Most of the feedback that you're going to get, this is for everyone, the feedback that you're going to get from your chair in the committee, they're not giving you a feedback to say, did you apply this theory right per se, or did you do the dissertation right? They're giving you feedback of, are your ideas clear? Are your arguments clear? If I say that in another way, they're more interested in if a person who has never heard of your topic, right? Like never heard of breastfeeding, for instance. Can they pick up your dissertation and learn not only about breastfeeding, but learn about your view of like your critical discourse of breastfeeding? That's somebody's topic, by the way, if y'all were wondering why I just randomly went there. Right. Think about your topic. Most of you are writing to your chair and your committee, right? When you're writing, you're like, is my chair gonna think I did this right? This is a method my chair came up with, or this is a area that they're expert in. Are they gonna think I did it right? Are they gonna think I like pushed it further? That's not who you're writing to. You're writing to a reader who has never heard of your topic before. Because when you write to the reader who's never heard of it, it forces you to be explicit. When you are explicit, you say, okay, this is what breastfeeding is. Here's an example of breastfeeding. Here's why this matters. So this is what it is. This is how I define it. And this is why it matters. That takes more time and energy than you think. Why am I talking about this, like going through this process? Because I want you to know that the reason why most, not only just students, but scholars in general, don't do their due diligence in revising and editing and clarifying their ideas is because it's painful. So instead of like before, what we were talking about, when you first start writing, the emotions you're coming up against is insecurity, imposter syndrome, like questioning if this is right or not. That's the first hurdle. The second hurdle, then, once you do have words on the page, it's boring. It's not exciting anymore, right? You're no longer coming up with new ideas or new ways to express yourself or new narratives. Now it's about, how do I keep reading the same narrative over and over and checking, is it clear? Did I define my terms? Did I give examples? Is it something that a reader who has no context can understand? And after your fourth round of edits from your chair of doing that, you're pissed off. That's the third level. Now you pissed because all you want to do is graduate. You can't understand. They give me one more track change, I swear I'm flipping the table over. But that's writing. That's what you signed up for. The fun part is like, oh, I read this article and this, I could do this and I could do that and I could do this method. I see this a lot in methods chapter, and I could do this and I could do that. It's like, okay, but make a decision. No, because then if I make a decision, then I have to stick to it, and I don't really want to do that. And what you send the message to your chair and everybody else, you don't want to be a doctor. Because what you don't realize as a scholar, is someone who sits with their work for months and years, refining and clarifying the same ideas for 10, 20, 30 years. That person that you see on Twitter or that person you love to run into in a conference, they've been talking about the same thing for 50, 11 years. Okay. For the past 8 years, all I do is get on the internet and I say, write a shitty paragraph, right? Reading is not writing. Stop using reading as entertainment. You could write your dissertation in 10 hours. I'm saying the same shit over and over. I'm just finding new ways to say it because that's what it means to be a scholar who is crafting their work. But that's boring and it's tedious and there's no dopamine hit from looking at the same paragraph over and over. And so then out of frustration, you say, fuck it, I'm just going to turn it in. And so then you give it to your chair. Oh, I'm sorry if the baby is in there. I'm sorry. Listen, don't repeat that. Okay. I'm sorry. You turn it into your chair and you tell them, can you look over this for me? Can you look at this for me? And then when they give you all these track changes, or that some of them would be like, I can't read this, rewrite this over. That's when you got an attitude and you're like, well, they're not showing up for me. No, they're not going to do the work that you're avoiding doing. When they tell you to send them a polished draft, this is what they're asking you to do. They're asking you to sit down and do at least 2 rounds of, am I being clear? Does this make sense? Did I organize this? Did I format this? Did I define it? Did I give examples? Do I have multiple citations? Is this a cohesive draft? You want them to be your editor, and they're like, that's your job. I'm just here to tell you yay or nay. So to go directly to the how, Carolyn, right? We go to step 2. Yeah, step 2 of the scholar writing routine. So step 1 is, right, what you were talking about. Go verbalize or free write for 10 minutes. So for everybody who's like, let me back up. Whatever you're writing, so think about what chapter you're on or what section you're on. Think about that. And then I want you to open up a recording device and I just want you to verbalize everything you know about that topic. This is not, you don't go read, you just verbalize. This is what I know about this topic. That's step 1. You need to see what is hiding in your head because this is not you have read articles. You have read about this topic before. You didn't just come in here brand new. So you just verbalize what I know already. Step 2 is where you take it paragraph, shitty paragraph by shitty paragraph. And for each paragraph, you say, what is my main idea I'm trying to convey in this one paragraph? Not for the entire paper, for this one shitty paragraph. So something I do is I will remove the rest of the paragraphs and I will only have 1 paragraph per page because my brain needs to only see 1 paragraph. Otherwise I get distracted. So I read the paragraph as is. I actually have my computer read it to me so I can hear it out loud. And then I ask myself, what is the main idea that I am making? So Bonnie, this is what we're going to do on Saturday. So this is a precursor. So what is the main idea? And you want to write that in 1 sentence, like the main idea of the paragraph is, and you can use that as a prompt if that's helpful. Once you have been able to write that as a sentence, you say, okay, of this main idea of this 1 sentence, what words would I need to define that a 7th grader would not understand? Are there terms? Are there concepts? Is there insider language or lingo that we use in the field that somebody who's not familiar would have an issue with, or like would need to go look up? That is what you want to define. You want to provide a 1 sentence definition of that word. Anytime you define a word, you want to give an example. You can write another sentence of an example, or you can do something like IE or EG and put the example in parentheses. You do that for each concept or term in that main idea. That will help that be clear. And then you would end that paragraph off with a transitional sentence or a summary sentence. We're going back to English 101. You summarize the main idea. So let me go back over that. You take it paragraph by paragraph. You read the first shitty paragraph and you say, what is the main idea I'm trying to make? You write a 1 sentence main idea. You look at that sentence and you say, what word do I need to define or explain that a seventh grader would not understand? You define each of those words and you provide an example for each of the definitions. And then you write a concluding sentence. You will find that in your shitty paragraphs, you have multiple main ideas. And this is how we can go from 4 shitty paragraphs to 10, because you realize, like, I was combining too many things in one paragraph. Now, here's what happens. Because this process is messy, because you're taking it one paragraph by paragraph, your brain will start to tell you, you're never going to finish this way. This is taking too long. There's no way. Absolutely not. I'm over it. I only did 2 paragraphs and I'm over it. But that's writing. My rule, if you've never heard it, for every hour of writing, you need to devote at least 3 hours of editing. That's why. Because it takes time to do that step by step. And I want you to notice, we still haven't looked at the literature yet. So in no way am I telling you to go back to the literature. I'm telling you to do this from the top of your head. If you get to a point and you say, well, you told me to define it and give an example, and I don't have a definition off the top of my head, you know what you do? I want you to go ahead and put a little comment, highlight that, a little track change, put a comment on the side and say, come back to this. Look for an article to define this and move on to the next paragraph. Why? Because you don't need to be distracted right now. You don't need to be in nobody's literature right now. We're not there yet. If you can give yourself the space, and this is something that you're most likely not going to be able to do in one writing session or 2 writing sessions, it's most likely going to take you multiple writing sessions to take this paragraph by paragraph to flesh it out. The other thing I want you to look out for is you're going to feel like this is repetitive. I'm just repeating myself over and over. Welcome to academic writing. Think about the articles in the textbooks. Are they not repeating themselves over and over? That's what it means to be an academic. Tell people what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them over and over and over. It's repetitive. It's boring. Welcome. You want to do some entertain, you want to be entertained by your writing, go write your own book, self-publish. But if you want to be a scholar, do a dissertation or research, welcome. After you do this, after you take this paragraph by paragraph, when you read over it, you're going to be like, okay, there are some areas that are too repetitive, or now it's not as cohesive. That's a separate part of the editing process. You want to devote 1 or 2 editing sessions just to making sure that each paragraph flows directly into one another. You see how more time has been added here? I promise you, listen to me, look at me. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I promise you that if you only did step 1 and step 2 and you didn't even have not 1 citation, I mean this. Even if you didn't have 1 citation and you turned that into your chair, do you know they will still give you feedback? That they're more likely to tell you can defend with that document than if you have a document filled with citations, but I can't read it. Did you know that? I've seen it happen over and over and over, because what an academic appreciates most is you give them something to review that they can actually read, that they don't have to spend hours being like, what the hell? What the hell? Okay, y'all can stop it on TikTok too long. Like, if I don't have to do mental gymnastics to figure out, now you were talking about intersectionality and then all of a sudden you just jump to fish. What the hell are we talking about? And it's all in one paragraph. But if you do your due diligence and you write, and you do this writing and editing and you turn it in, your chair is going to be like, thank you. Now just make sure you put the citations in. Okay. That's a whole hell of a lot different than, okay, thank you for these citations, but I have no idea what you're saying. And you're like, I just want to defend. What are we defending? I don't even know what you're saying. Okay. Is this helpful? Step 3 of the process. Once you are able to go through that, step 3 is when you go to the literature. Why? This is going to go real quick. You know exactly what you're trying to say. You know exactly what you're trying to defend. We use citations to justify our arguments. If you don't know what argument you're making, how do you know what you're reading? You're just reading for funsies then. If you start off with reading, how do you know what article? How do you know, do I read this article versus I read this article? But when you take the time to figure out, this is what I want to say, This is me cleaning it up. You can easily pinpoint, there's a gap there. I don't even know what I thought I knew how to define that word. I know how to define that word. Let me go find an article to define that word. Or you might be like, I need an example here. Oh, let me go find an article that gives me an example, right? It becomes a check. It becomes a plug and play. And you go through multiple articles quickly because you know exactly, like if I read something, I know exactly where it fits in my writing because I spent time with the writing and my ideas. And even if I come across something that I forgot to put in my writing, I know exactly where to plug it in at. Or I can make a note to myself and say, come back and do that after the defense. So we don't look at the literature until step 3. After step 3 is when you turn it into your chair for their feedback. There's a step 4 and 5, but I find that I can't get people past step 2. So that's why I'm staying here. Okay. That helps, Carolyn, Bonnie. Yeah. I'm telling y'all, though, the emotions of editing, you want to do this in 30-minute hour spurts. You do not want to try to do this in all one writing session because you're going to be ready to like murder somebody. I mean that. You want to give yourself time because you also want to have a fresh brain. Because you think it'll be obvious of like, oh, I should define this word. Or I should do this. It won't always be obvious, especially if you're operating on limited sleep. If you don't try this, even if you're listening to my voice, lock this into place. Remember this today. Because when you come back and you're trying to get your proposal or your dissertation approved, and your chair keeps saying, keep writing, keep working, I want you to remember what I just said to you. They're telling you they don't understand your ideas. They're not telling you to go read more. They're not telling you that what you did was wrong. They're saying, I don't know what argument you're making. This is not clear. Most students interpret when their chair tells them something isn't clear that means they need to read more. No, you need to edit more. If you want to use AI, Carolyn, in this, since you mentioned that, you go to it and you say, hey, chat, how you doing? Okay, so I am at the point where I wrote a shitty draft. This is how I talk to my chat. I wrote a shitty draft about, XY critical race theory. I want you to take my shitty draft and I want you to help me structure each paragraph. That means I need each paragraph to have one main idea. In that main idea, I need us to identify the words that a 7th grader will have a hard time understanding. And for each of those words or concepts, define it and provide an example that's related to my overall dissertation topic. And then I wanted you to make sure you conclude the paragraph and transition to the next paragraph. You may, chat, have multiple main ideas in my shitty paragraphs. I want you to make a new paragraph for each of those main ideas that you find. Show me your work. Did you know you could tell AI to show you, say, show me your work. Show me how you're making, as you do this, show me how you're making decisions. Show me where you left my original words intact and show me where you added new words. Press send or submit and it will show you. Now, it's still going to require you to read through it, but it will speed up this process. Maybe that needs to be a resource too. I'm going to have to come back and listen to this. I've said that like 11 times. But AI can speed this up for you. Now, you have to watch, if you are going to use AI, what you have to watch for, because AI values efficiency above all. And so if you try to ask it to do too much, like you don't take it paragraph by paragraph, but instead you give it pages, because it values efficiency, it's going to collapse your writing. So you got to watch out for that, which is why I love asking it to show its work and to tell me its thought process as it's making decisions, because it forces it to follow your instructions. I like working in small increments with AI because of that, because I'm like, you doing too much. We only on this one paragraph and you over here doing too much. Now, for those of you who are like, I can't use this, my school has an AI tracker, or this cheating. You say worst case scenario, somebody brings you up on plagiarism charges, or they're like, this is not your original work. The way I'm teaching you how to do it, you have all the evidence that it is your work, right? You have the original recordings where you brain dump. You have that first shitty draft. You have the chat conversation where you're like, I put paragraph by paragraph. And then remember, I said, even when you're done with AI, you still have to read through it and do some editing. So the document that you turn in is not going to be the document that AI gave you. AI is a tool that helps you go faster. It is not a tool to write your dissertation. We're not leaving a machine to be a scholar. It's a tool in the same way that you have a research assistant or you use Zotero. Those are resources that helps you to go faster in this process. AI is just helping you to go faster. So I hope that helps. All right, Danielle. What is it in our remaining time? Let me bring this all together. I teach y'all in this program micro habits, not because I think I'm trying to insult you and what you're able to do. I'm trying to help you get to the finish line. The people that you see who are defending is because they were willing to do shitty paragraphs and they were willing to do these micro steps because they will compound over time. And that is how you make fast progress. When you work in 10-hour blocks every week, you show yourself that you are someone who can show up every week, get work done, do what you say, and still enjoy your life. You could do both. All right, Danielle. Okay, tell me what's going on.
Yeah, you can do that. Underscore, capitalize, highlight. So the thing that I want to process for the fear that you're going to get on another rant. I'm going to warn people. I might get her on another rant here. But I think part of the reason why I haven't written anything since last Thursday, when I got it down to 4 little parts of my discussion section that I need to fix so that I can be done, is because there's still a part of me that needs to grieve that I am about to lose an identity that I have held for 28 years. That identity is that of being a student. I've been in school since I was 5 years old. And in about a month and 6 days, I'm about to be 33. That is the longest I have ever had a role identity. This is what I have been studying. And I have to acknowledge that part of me doesn't want to let that go.
What does it mean to let it go? Like, why don't you want to?
There's comfort in knowing exactly what to do. I mean, there's part of my life that's about to be completely different.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I've been a professor, but it's different when you are given somebody else's syllabus and you are told to just run the play. I mean, I was allowed wiggle room, of course, because, your classroom's your classroom. But at the end of the day, still, I felt like I was a student fulfilling somebody else's as a substitute teacher, right? But being a faculty member is something, as a faculty member that's included in the faculty meetings, is different from being a PhD student that's a faculty member.
Yeah.
And there's a comfort for me in knowing, I know how a syllabus works. I know what a student does. I don't know what that it feels like the next level of adulting.
Like, what does a professor do?
Yeah.
Okay. What if you decided not to graduate in 8 days? What if you decided you'll stay through the summer?
No, I don't want to
Why?
because I'm over these people.
Yeah, but like, what if you don't
I
you don't
want
you don't have to
better.
you don't have to talk to the people, but you get to just you just don't graduate. Like you can stay there, you can go to all your favorite restaurants, right? You can go talk to the people you do like. You could do that all summer. Tell me what your brain is saying.
That I could do all those things and graduate May Day.
Yeah, but like right now you don't really want to give up your student identity. So like just enjoy it a little bit more. This is important. And you don't have to tell me, but like think of like what is your brain screaming? What is it saying?
Right now, it is screaming, girl, if you don't get up and do this thing right now, you would be madder staying here.
Would you but like what would be nice about it though? Like humor me for a few minutes.
Yeah.
What would be nice about staying a student and not graduating?
What would be nice about it? The routine,
Mm-hmm.
the comfort of knowing
Of knowing what?
what I'm supposed to do, knowing the people that have been around me for the past 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that I don't have to figure out how I'm gonna pay for the next 2 months of
Mhm.
everything without income. Um,
Okay, let's just take those things.
okay.
So tell me in general, what are 3 things that you do as a part of your routine right now that you really love as a student?
I love learning.
Okay.
Like, I love that interaction between like being in community with people that have read or are focused on the same thing together and having that continuation of thoughts and diversity in this space that I've always felt safe in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that school has been harmful for a lot of people, but it has also been a source of validation for a lot of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
How about what are 3 things that you could do to make money? I want the most off the wall things that you could do. You can create an OnlyFans. You could sell like little toe pictures. Little.
that is off the wall.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. Toe, you can do an OnlyFans account. Give me 2 more ways that you can make money.
I could stay at my leasing office job.
Okay. Give me 1 more.
Go get a retail job.
Okay. Now let me pause for everyone if you're wondering this line of questioning. When we stop making what we're going through a problem and we come from a place of curiosity, it helps gives us options and next step. Right now, Danielle's nervous system is like freaking out because it's like everything is about to change in 8 days. Everything is going to change overnight. I'm going to lose my people. I'm not going to be learning. Now I'm going to be forced to be the one who's teaching. I'm really stressed because there's a basic need of how am I going to live? How I'm going to financially be able to afford to live for the next 2 months or 3 months until I get my next paycheck as that professor. And will I even make it to that paycheck? Because do I even know what I'm doing? Right? All of that is happening on the inside. So what we want to do is slow down anxiety and say, okay, girl, let's do this one thing at a time. All right. And when I asked her, what would happen if you stay? So when we don't demonize the thing that we're doing and we come from a place of curiosity, it gives us information. So what happens if you keep your student status? For other people is what happens if you continue to scroll for 10 hours a day? What would happen? Like, what do you like about it? Danielle says, I like the routine. I like the comfort of knowing what I'm supposed to do, knowing the people, and knowing how to pay for things. Okay, now we got a starting point. So then the next question then becomes, what exactly of those things, how do we operationalize those things? So me asking her, like, what are 3 things as a routine right now? She said, I love learning, being around people who are safe, and being in a community of people who are all focused on learning and discussing the same thing. So now that the next step becomes, okay, how can I bring those pieces with me in this new era, in this new identity? So you're still going to be there for the summer, even as you plan your move to Athens. It's like, how do I find like something I want to learn about, like something that I've always been interested in that I want to learn about. Like for me, it was astrology. I'm like, ooh, at first it wasn't astrology, it was tarot cards. I was like, what's this tarot card thing that people are doing? Then it's like, okay, let's go find the people like who are talking about it. So then I started watching a bunch of YouTube channels. I'm like, oh, everybody's talking about this tarot card thing. And then as I started like dabbling, it could be Discord groups, it could be actual community groups. But as you try those new things, and it's like, who do I feel the most comfortable around? And then you're like, how can I make this a regular part? So if it's something virtual, right? Like for me, it became, okay, every morning I'll watch a video on tarot cards until I found my creators who I really like watching how they talk about tarot cards. And then that led me to astrology and I was down a rabbit hole, right? Like for you, it's we're the people who are talking about something you might have been interested in, podcasting, sports or something, right? We're going into the summer, WNBA, all of that. And how do you start to adopt that and add that to your routine? So it's not about taking things away. It's like, how do I start adding new things? And the more that becomes a part, like for the next, let's say 4 weeks or so, and you find that you're like, okay, it's not so bad. It's not so bad to leave the student status because I still get to do this part. The same thing is true with money, which the reason why I jumped there is because that is probably something that's really stressful. You have options: OnlyFans, stand at the leasing office, retail. Now, you still may not like any of these options, but what that tells your anxiety is, worst case scenario, we got something. We got something to choose from. I'm going to argue that it's probably most likely you're probably more likely to stay at the retail job since it's familiar. And so then it's like, okay, what is required? What do you need in order to stay at this job? Now, you may not want to. And so then we're going to go down like, what don't you like about it? And how can you solve for that? Or at least if you can't control it, what can you add to your life to make it more bearable? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it has to be a big old calendar on the wall, a countdown of like, only have to be here for 2 months. And that's enough to get through. Sometimes you have to wake up every day and be like, you know what? It's not writing a dissertation. Let me go do this lockout, right? You might have to remind yourself. Can everybody else see how you can apply this to a situation you're going through, right? We're talking to Danielle about a student, right? It might be like, it shouldn't even be a thing that I'm talking about my student identity. But your research, it is. But as we go deeper, it's like, no, there's a reason why we got to talk about it. Okay, what is your brain doing?
Intellectualizing everything you just said.
Tell me more.
Like, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And saying it makes sense. And, you're saying, you could just stay at that leasing office job. And if my boss had her way, I would be here until the next day that I started as a professor.
Mm-hmm.
She would. Like, she flat out asked me on 2 days ago, can I get you to stay until the end of June?
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, I want to, but this apartment's got to get packed up. And I have to move to Georgia. And school starts August 1st. And I have stuff here and I have stuff in Florida. And then the stuff's got to get to Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I need time to do all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting yesterday thinking about all of my finances, and I was like, I have enough in my savings put away once this tax return comes in to fund the bills that need to be paid, as long as my grandma helps me with my rent in July.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question, and I want your raw answer to it.
Okay.
Let me make sure I frame it.
Breath.
Let's operate from the assumption that staying at this retail job is the best decision that you can make. I want you to name for me 5 ways or pieces of evidence why that might be true.
Number one, staying at this leasing office job means that my rent gets paid because it has paid and gotten me through the past 2 summers.
Mm-hmm.
It's also given me stability and purpose and having a routine. Because it's also allowed me to be sane the last 2 summers.
Mm-hmm.
Third piece of evidence is my coworkers have, in one case, one of my coworkers is literally my roommate. So it's continuation of the support system that I've had. 4, I'd be lying if I said that there isn't a bit of a culture dynamic at that workplace that I have come to really like. And this is going to sound really egotistical of me in saying this, but I like being needed.
Hmm?
And I like being seen as somebody that people can count on and the go-to person for that. And I get that from that job.
Hmm?
And my boss that I've had for going on 2 years now, like, she's one of the best bosses that I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, she's not like, I've been met with other bosses before that took my wanting to improve things as a threat. She's not threatened by me. So,
Okay. So take a deep breath.
okay.
Tell me, let's switch our assumption and say it's better for you to leave the job now and focus on packing and moving. Give me 5 reasons as to why that would be the best.
So, number 1, if I start that process now, as opposed to, let's just say, July 12th, there is less stress in having to do all that in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I've done that before. Ironically, you were on a podcast while I was compartmentalizing. So it's
Mhm.
very full circle meta moment here that I'm talking to you and processing this all at the same time and not compartmentalizing. So just putting a pin in that.
Okay.
So less stress and having to move in a hurry. 2, I have the time to go look at these sites in person as opposed to just on a hope and a prayer that it looks as good as it looks on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
3, the packing will actually get done in the stuff that I want to bring with me will be able to come with me just because like I'm the doer in my family. Like we moved into that new house technically in February of 2023
Mm-hmm.
and my family's still unpacking
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
So if I waited for them to do any packing, it wouldn't get done.
Okay.
And if I didn't quit my job by the time that I said I was going to quit my job, I would be able to go to Hawaii.
Okay. So go to Hawaii. All right.
Yeah.
So let me just review this. So because I want you to hear it out loud from a different voice.
Mm-hmm.
You said the things that you enjoy most about your student identity is one that you have a routine. Like if you were to stay and you didn't graduate, I would have a routine. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I know the people, and be so concerned about how to pay for things, but I won't have to deal with that if I stayed a student, right? So that means that's what's most important to you right now. Right, that's centrally like what your anxiety is concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay at your job, rent will get paid. You'll have more stability and purpose and you'll be saying because you'll have that routine that you are familiar with. You'll get to stay around your coworkers and your support system, especially with your roommate, and have good meals, right? Good food. You like the actual culture of work, and you like knowing that you're the go-to person and that you're needed and that people respect you and they respect your innovation and they're not threatened by you. And yeah, like in general, like you get to be that doer at work. On the other side, if you decide to leave when you said you would, it will give you more time and space to start packing ahead of time so that you can not only pack, if I understand this correctly, that you can not only pack your apartment there, but you can go to the family home and pack that up in preparation to move everything to Georgia, which would be less stressful because you'll have more time. And you know that you'll also, it sounds like you'll have more energy to corral your family together so that they can help you do those things. And it's not like last time where you listen to podcasts trying to like, on like probably all the energy drinks and just hope and prayer of you would get there. And you can guarantee that all the packing would get done and you'll be ready to move and you can go to Hawaii. Okay, just me naming that, what comes up? And if anything.
Well, I kind of heard like some of the things that staying and maintaining my student identity gives me.
Mm-hmm.
I can have those things in the other role.
Yeah.
Like seen as the doer. My family's always seen me as the doer, the fixer, the whatever. Control over the routine and not being stressed. Well, I would have my own routine of putting the boxes together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my immediate reaction is.
Yeah. Here's what I would say. This isn't a matter of what's the right choice. It's a matter of what's the best choice for me right now. Right and best are not the same thing.
Mhm.
We can use, your student identity as a compass to make a decision. Right? What I also want you to consider, it's not an either or, it's a both and. Is there a world where you could do both? You could choose both. Here's some examples of what that could look like. It could be, you can go to your boss and you can say, I can't give you the end of, and I don't know what your original date was to leave, but it's like, I can get you to the end of June, but I can give you June 15th. There's the option of, okay, I'll stay through June, but you have to give me X amount of hours off. I will stay until this time. Could you give me funding to hire packers and moving? Now, I don't know what type A person you are. If you like, I don't want nobody to come in. I don't really know. Right. I'm offering to you that there are different options here. Now, if you have more emotional capacity, we got options of, hey, family, y'all still unpacking. Okay, but I need you to do XYZ. There's the option of, I could be okay with, I'm gonna move to Athens and I'm not gonna have all the stuff. And when fall break comes, I'll go get the rest of the stuff. There's an option of, right. My point is, you can still go to Hawaii, right? You can still have the time. There's multiple things, but when we don't take the time to write it out or like talk through it, we can't see that. I will say right now, it sounds like you very much don't want to stay at the leasing office. But I'm going to say, as somebody who's listening, I'm not sure why, beyond you think you wouldn't have time. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't or you should.
Mhm.
I just want to point that out to you right now, that in our conversation, I'm still not all the way clear why that wouldn't be the option. And it sounds like that your brain is like, because if I stay there, there won't be any space for me to do anything else. What I want to remind you is, because you will no longer be a student who's focused on a dissertation, that would no longer be taking up your time or energy. And so to remember to consider both options as much as you can from that lens of, I'm going to have free time because I won't be writing a dissertation.
Yeah.
And if you are the type A person I think you are, and how I know you orient to your grandmother, I want you to also spend some time journaling and thinking about, how do you feel about your grandmother giving you money? Now, listen, if you got a grandmother like mine, you like, that's what she do. She just be handing out money. I don't even know why, right? Then that's different. If y'all have a different relationship. But if there's something else that's coming up, just naming that for yourself so you can sit with it before you make a decision.
Yeah. I mean, with my grandma, she was already offering to pay rent so that I didn't have to work at the leasing office while I
Okay.
was doing this dissertation process.
Okay.
It was like, can I pay for you so you don't have to have that stress? And I was like, I appreciate that, but the stress that I get from not working at the leasing office is more than the stress I get from working at the leasing office, because I get a dopamine hit from actually completing a shift and knowing that I did my job that day.
Mhm.
And having the extra money gives me more of a sense of stability and not being fearful I can't pay my bills.
But it feels like there's also the option of being like, Grandma, I need this amount of money to both pay my bills and to feel comfortable. That's also an option.
Yeah. And I know she'd give it to me.
Right. So the theme of today's conversation then is, so it sounds like either decision is going to be emotionally challenging. Which hard do you want? So everybody, we're never choosing between the hard or the easy. They're both going to be hard. It's just, what hard do I want?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. You already look lighter.
Yeah, I feel lighter.
For everyone who was listening, is there a takeaway that you have from this conversation? And I'm asking you that because I want you to start getting used to when other people are getting coached, you're putting yourself in a situation. I love watching other people get coached because my brain is working and I'm like, oh, I could apply this to myself in this way. So is there a takeaway that you have?
I think the takeaway I get from it is that one, I appreciate the sharing and the vulnerability of this space always, and two, it lets you say all of the things out, even if they're irrational, or just verbalize it, and lets you like in some way calm your brain down because you're thinking it, you're saying what the need or the issue or the concern is so you can hear it, and then you're remembering to breathe and coming up with steps of things and addressing that, even though I might make this step, it's uncomfortable, or you're listening at all your options. Because as I listen that you say, like, well, I could stay at this job, but it's also realizing, what's true. And so that's what I got out of it. And that everybody gets to this point in some space or way in their life. If it's not as a doctoral student, you can think of other examples in your day-to-day life where you're saying all these things in another way out.
Yeah. That's what coaching is, y'all. Right? And I don't know why I'm going here. I just feel called. People often ask, like, what's the difference between a coach or therapy? And I'm not here to be like, I know this is not a hashtag, not all, but in general, how I think about coaching is I'm not here to say if this is right or wrong. I'm just here to be like, here are your options based on what you said. I'm going to repeat back what you said, and I'm here to help you take a step forward. You don't always do that in therapy because it's not always appropriate. Right. But my main job is I'm not trying to stay in the past, or I'm not trying to pathologize you. I'm just trying to help you make the best decision for you, but giving you tools so that you can do that, not for me to tell you what's right. And so when we're doing this, while it could seem like, oh, this is taking so long and how many more questions are you going to ask? I'm trying to help you slow down anxiety long enough so that you can hear that you already know what you want to do. It's like, what's required to help you feel confident and moving in that direction. But it's something we need to hear our thinking out loud.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but you're amazing at what you do.
Oh, thank you.
There's just something about the way you approach this process and not getting, like, I know I'm a lot, but the way you help me think through things is amazing.
You're not a lot. They're like, I was gonna make a joke about like you being a Gemini, right? But it's hard when we're in spaces, and especially when you're little, like it's making me think of Rumi Carter, right? Everybody, the internet is losing its mind because this baby is on stage because she's also a Gemini, which is why like she just can't stop saying hi to everybody. She didn't miss the choreography, she didn't miss the cue, like girl, right? But when you have spaces where you feel safe and that's okay. I don't know who talked to her because last night she was calm. That made me nervous. But like, I want a name for you that I'm sure that there are parts of you in different ages where people told you constantly you're too much and you're a lot and like this. And as you have named, there are several places though that appreciate that love that about you. Part of this work of not making who we are and how we show up a problem is not only so that you can move forward towards your goals, but that you can start to build a relationship with yourself of like, even if they think I'm too much, I know I'm not. I love this about myself. Because the more that you love the things that you feel are cringe or other people would think is cringe, the more you love that, the calmer you are, the more in your body you are. And you can walk into a space, even if you don't necessarily feel comfortable with those people, you'll be fine. But you are a gift. every time you walk into a space, people appreciate you being there. You know the whole world. Okay. It's amazing to me how many people you know in connections, but that's a gift. We need you. Like, we need your connection abilities. We need the way that you think. We need the questions. We need the problematizing of the literature. Right? We need the jokes. Like, we need it all. And as people, we get annoyed with each other, whatever. But that's just people. But you are a gift. Everybody, y'all. We all bring a unique energy into this world. And we just hold up mirrors to other people who stop giving themselves permission to like live out their true, like who they are. Thank y'all for this. Before I go, is there any other things we need to work through, talk through, questions?
I know one thing that I could spend doing that my intellectual brain can use.
You want to talk it out? You want to get it out? You want to have your crash out? Come on, Pisces, crash out for me. Crash out.
I was so irritated.
Tell me more.
So irritated. Because first, I didn't even tell you, she started with, I think this could be grounded theory. And when I tell you, I pulled over in the parking lot and pulled out my laptop and turned on my hotspot before I even walked into my desk because, Paige, you got me fucked up. This is not, like, how did we get to grounded theory? Of all theories that you could figure out of all methodologies, this is where you landed? Then she circled back to case study, and I was just like, I'm going to answer your 2 questions, and I'm going to remind you that that's where I started, and you talked yourself out of it, and I stopped arguing with you, so I wrote it how you wanted me to write it. And she was like, oh, I am having deja vu, but this is what we talked about. Mind you, she's been dodging me since my defense, knowing that I got to submit this paperwork to graduate research by the 14th. And she gonna tell me we landed the plan on case study today. Then I called her at 2 p.m. like I said I was going to, and she still ain't.
Okay, for context, everyone, she has already defended her proposal. So her chair is coming in the midnight hour telling her to change her methodology after everything has been approved. Listen, I like your chair. I know you. I like your chair. Let me tell you why. Because she's just in her own world in her own timing. She's just like,
and she did me kind of like Zana's chair did a few weeks ago, like a stream of consciousness email about. I think I gave Beth Ann my case study book. I get her. I don't care. I don't care where the book is. I just need you to say this is what you want me to write, and I'm gonna do the revisions. I'm gonna get it back to you. That's all we need to talk about right now.
Okay, but something y'all need to know about her chair is she just real, just like if type B ain't even it, it's a type D. Like she just out here on her own rhythm. Okay, she don't even know the process. She just like vibes. She living off vibes. Right. So if you can imagine somebody who's just like, I'm off the vibes, the love in the land. I don't even know what's going on. Okay, because Kristen turned this in December. Okay, January. We are in May. And friend is like, you know what? You know what I think you should do? Change your methodology.
So what I said in January, because I said none of these other ones make sense. And she's gonna have to deal with the fact that I took this N down. Because who's doing a case study of 15 to 20 farmers markets? You are insane. Because she was like, yeah, you can do cross case analysis and in case. I said that, Paige. I said that. And I was like, if I could be petty and send her what I posted in Circle in January, because I was like, Dr. Lacey, please confirm that I'm not crazy, that a case study makes sense because the farmer's market is the bounded system.
It won't matter. It's not gonna hit her. It won't matter. She won't be like none the wiser. She don't even want to be upset. Like it won't emotionally register for her. So I don't want you to go there because you're gonna be mad that she's not even frustrated.
Your timeline, I was like, you do realize I gotta change this in like 6 different parts of the paper, right? Like you realize it's not just a singular section. Like this impacts data analysis, like this impacts She's like, yeah, this is no big deal. As if we both don't have final papers to grade right now.
You got it. But here's the thing. She knows you as someone who's highly capable and would have no problem doing it. I'm not saying what reality is. I'm saying from her point of view, she believes that you are someone who could do this in a few minutes because you wrote a proposal in 3 weeks. What's the difference here?
I mean, the revisions are done, but I did with an attitude all night because
Oh, okay. Okay.
Girl,
No, tell her that. Tell her what's the because. Get it out.
are you saying I asked you weeks ago? Do you have anything else?
But she didn't process weeks ago. Tell me more.
We'll take that over Jesus. Like, at some point, I understand we are
Yeah.
all over, but I get it. I'm also faculty, but I also don't do shit when I know that I'm over.
I know. Okay. I know.
Like, if I ain't got it, I'm gonna tell you I ain't got it. Michelle just asked me, do you want to give your conclusion speech to the set? No, I don't. Let the dean do it.
Okay. I'm saying she doesn't have the awareness to know if she has it or not. Because she's living off of vibes, she's just taking things as they come.
Help all of us. Help all of her advising.
What I'm saying is it's not personal. Even though it has very real personal impacts, it's not personal. Like, you ever heard that saying, she's having a hard time, she's not trying to give you a hard time? Tell me what your brain is saying. I want you to get it out.
I'm just smart, so I just don't care. That's nice. That's real nice.
You don't care that she's that, or you don't care about this? Which part you don't care?
No, I don't care that she ain't got it.
Okay. That's fair.
I have very little empathy for her in this present moment in time.
Yeah. Okay, but I want you to, okay. Here's the thing. Let me define my terms. For me, empathy isn't that I emotionally agree with the person. Empathy is, I can see how you got there. I still think that's the dumbest thing ever, but I can see it. Okay, so that's a distinction here. So I'm asking you to tap into empathy. If she is living off of vibes, can you imagine how a typical semester goes for her? You went into her office. Okay, this is the same person who gave you feedback on your entire proposal and pen. And when you went to go pick it up, she couldn't find it. Okay, but she did give you a gift. She gave a little egg pennant. Okay, she gives you gifts. She gives you little trinkets, right? She can keep track of that, but she has a hard time keeping track of logistics. Can you imagine how her classes go? Which you probably could because you probably had a class with her, right? Like she probably don't even get a syllabus in the first 2-3 weeks because she's too overwhelmed, right? Y'all, like, tap into empathy right now, right? Tap into empathy. If I'm so overwhelmed, I can't even figure out what the syllabus is, and I can't even remember what book goes to what class. That means on a day-to-day basis, I'm constantly running around being like, what do I have to do? I'm constantly in putting out fires mode. And since I'm constantly putting out fires, I can't plan. There's no forethought because there's no room for it. Can you imagine the conversation she has in her head all the time? Girl, you need to get it together. These students are dependent on you're messing it up for them. What are they going to do? And that keeps like circling, and it only makes her show up like this even more. Like, go with me. Like, that is her day-to-day lived experience. You know how exhausted she must be every day? You know how exhausting that must be? Why am I asking you to come from empathy? One, you already know, right? And you know, like, I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna do the thing, but I'm gonna be upset. But so that you can remember it's not personal, but you could be more direct. And you be like, hey girl, hey, now listen, last time I told you this was gonna happen, and then you said it was gonna happen, and then it did happen. So we're not playing them games no more. Okay, so as we get to the defense, you would put her on a syllabus. You will go ahead, even though you may be irritated, you'll go ahead and pre-program the email reminders because you already know, right? You might even go as far as like, here is your folder that you put your,
And that's
but wait, go with, I no, but
drop it off.
right, but it's like, you're going to drop it off, but you're like, oh, I see, I need to follow up with you, right? Now, I know somebody is fighting me down, being like, I shouldn't have to do all of this. But when we come from empathy, we're like, but this is the reality of the situation. Like, I could argue with her and tell her to be better, but listen, she already showed you that's who she is. When we are in relationship with people, we got to accept them as they are. We can try to be like, you should be different, but if that's who they are, how do you either meet them where they are or you remove yourself from the relationship? So this is your chair and y'all go together real bad and she really does like you. She gives you little trinkets and you know it's not personal. And you know that you wouldn't be able to stomach anybody else or your other options. You're like, how do I make this work? Knowing that it is bounded. Listen, in a few months, you won't have to do this. I mean, she's going to be your best friend. Like, you never getting rid of her, but that's an aside note. You won't have to deal with her as your chair. Okay, tell me. Is it I don't care?
It's not that I don't care, but it's just like, God damn, I'm trying to help you. Can you help me a little bit every time?
She can't. What if she can't? Like, what if she honestly can't? What if she honestly cannot help you? What if she honestly, somebody on Instagram said, oh, hell no. Like, what if she honestly cannot help you? Like, she honestly does not have the tools to help you. Everybody, think about your own chair. What if it's not personal? What if they honestly don't have the level of critical thinking, or they don't have the organization skills, they don't have the emotional intelligence skills to do the things or to meet you where you are? What if they cannot do it? It's not that they don't want to, they cannot.
That's annoying, and I really would like to wrap this up.
You're speeding through this process. Because despite all her antics, you still successfully defended and about to turn into this IRB in less than 6 months. Despite her antics, you did that. Coming back to the theme of today, this is why we talk about emotions, right? Because the only thing here is emotions. Because it hasn't changed. It hasn't altered your timeline, right? It hasn't, like, you're not derailed. You're moving forward. You did the thing. You know how to do the thing. Now, I get that your brain is like, but what if I did it? That's not the reality. The reality is you know what to do. You invested in support. Plus, you are highly intelligent and capable of doing this. Is the truth of it you don't need her? Yeah. But the process says you are assigned to a chair. Most of you don't need your chairs either, but that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. So she's going to do more stuff like this. I want you to prepare. She's going to do this. This is just the beginning. Wait till you get into data analysis and writing up. Oh, you think she get on your nerves now? She's going to be calling you every day. Would you like to go to the coffee place? I think we could talk about your work more. I know you wrote this chapter and it's technically set to go to the committee, but I was thinking we should do a little razzle dazzle. You want to write another chapter? The day of your defense, she's going to call you in the morning. She's going to be like, Kristen, I think you should add slides about these 20 things.
You mean like she did this last time?
Yeah. Yeah. Because she's just doing what's in front of her. So it took her 6 months to be like, that case study thing. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the part that's irritating me. We congratulations talked about this in my first dissertation breakthrough session.
She needed that time to catch up. She needed that time to catch up. Because what you got to remember is she's also having an emotional experience. Like, yes, she has her emotions from her day to day, but she's also doing research in a way that she's not comfortable with. And so you got to deal with her insecurities around, I'm supposed to be leading a student and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm trying to read. And she probably like has some extra time because, yeah, y'all are grading, but like got more time. And so she probably was doing some reading, or maybe somebody gave her an article or case study. She was like, this would be perfect for Kristen because you're top of mind and she wants to help you. And then her tips to help you, she's like, oh, great idea, case study. I think it'll be perfect because now she has the space to actually think about that. Remember, she's just living off of vibes. She just got vibes going.
Like what you said on the internet, listen to Black women. Because I was right the first time.
Yes.
You just did a roundabout merry-go that was so unnecessary.
But it's necessary for her. It's necessary for them. For everybody. This may not look like this situation. What it may look like is you get to the end and y'all are going back and forth with edits. And then your chair is like, I know I told you to take that table out, but could you put that table back in? And you're like, didn't we? Yep, we did. You did, yes. Mm-hmm. They're just people living life for the first time. They just graduate students with bigger paychecks. They just still trying to figure this thing out. They're human. They don't mean no harm. Okay. Most of them are just like they're just trying to make it. I know it's hard to see your committee that way, y'all, but like they just trying to make it. See, this is why we do other things like blog and YouTube channel so that you have a creative outlet. You see, it's working.
Yeah, I was like, everybody that are my adjunct students, congratulations, everybody made an A because I didn't have students today. And grades are due on Monday.
Period.
So it's done. I'm gonna do my revisions, or I'll read through it tomorrow to make sure I didn't like cut things unnecessarily, and then send it Monday.
Send it Monday. That's it. Y'all are doing amazing. Okay, you're in this group. This is why we have these sessions to think through this. Next week, Dr. Winston is going to be with y'all. And then I'll come back the following week. And then we'll have 10 pages in 2 days, Memorial Day. And then that Thursday, I'm going to be doing a special workshop because I need to do like a formal scholar planning routine. So we're going to go through that. But I have some other ideas I'm going to add to it. So I'm excited. Y'all, remember your committee are people, which is why you can treat them like colleagues and you can manage up. If you are staying on today, decide how long are you staying? How long are you going to work for? When is going to be your cutoff time? When your brain tells you you shouldn't stop, what are you going to tell your brain? Okay, I want y'all to think through that. Okay, is anybody staying? You're going to stay? West Coast. Okay. I will make you the host. I want to say thank y'all. I know we went a little bit longer, but I thought this would be really helpful for anybody who wants to come back and watch. And for those of you who are here, I don't take it lightly that you trust me with this, and that is very vulnerable to do this in front of other people. So thank you. And just know, like, y'all are doing great. You're doing great. I'm so grateful for y'all. Okay, I'm going to go make me a salmon something. I don't know yet. Eat dinner and scroll on the TikTok because I put up a TikTok that I was a little nervous about. So I want to go see how that's doing. And I will talk to y'all later. Good night, y'all. Bye.
Good night.